When Kat asked me if I'd speak at the Landcare Conference about what our group had been doing, nervously yes, and I hadn't done a PowerPoint presentation before, so my presentation will be very amateurish compared to what we've just seen from Ben, just without the nice graphics and everything. And I was reading during the week that every picture paints 1,000 words, but if you can add a few words to the picture, you can actually tell a story. So I'm going to try and tell a story about our group, Friends of Randalls Bay, Coastcare. A friend of mine, Steve Smith, and I started our group back in 1997, so we've actually been going a while. But we've grown and continue to grow, and I think we're perhaps one of the more successful groups in Tasmania. From two, we've now got 70 plus financial members, 60 plus additional supporters, over 160 on our Facebook page, and to some degree we've just perhaps grown too successful because when we have our monthly working bees on the second Sunday of every month, sometimes we'll have over 20 volunteers come up to contribute. So I have to think about, well, what are we going to do today, and allocate tasks according to what people's interests are, what their strengths are, what their interests are, and what the weather's like. But we've done a lot of things over the years, and Randalls Bay is up here. You can't see on this map very well, but it's at the mouth of the Huon River, south end of the Dontricasto Channel. We look across to the south end of Bruny Island. And there's a lot of fish farms out there as well. We started off and hearing from Phil before with NHT money, EnviroFund money. So back in our early days, there was actually quite a bit of money that we were able to get. And we've been quite successful because over the years we've received over 20 grants, some large, some small, from various sources. So we've actually been able to do quite a few things. We started off trying to control the coastal erosion. Previously it had been open slather and people would come camp on the sands, burn all the local bits of wood for firewood, for the campfires, all those sorts of things. But we put a stop to that, putting barriers up, provided barbecue facilities and things like that to actually cater to the visitors, but not allowing camping for weeks on end through the summer months. So protecting the sand, putting access routes in with sand ladders, various access routes. And as you can see, we are facing the erosion problems with the sand moving back all the time. Various access paths, walking tracks. This particular track is on a block, a 60-acre block on the other side of the beach, across from the road. And the story that goes with this particular block, it was owned by the Huon Valley Council, and it had been an old gravel mine. The lease had expired. Council wanted to put it out for some sort of eco-development, but after 5 years they found that there was no one interested in this particular block, so they offered to sell it to our Coastcare group, and of course I said, no, we can't. We haven't got any money, we haven't got any revenue streams, how could we possibly buy it? But anyway, we set up a trust to provide security for a bank loan, but as it turned out we didn't need a bank loan in the end, because I took the hat around and so many local people were interested, they were prepared to contribute $80,000. And added to that, I did a crowdfunder through Possible and raised another 55, so we were able to buy, the Coastcare group was able to buy this 60-acre block, 22 hectares. So now we've got walking trails through it with various signage across the way. This is another access route which we had blocked off to stop vehicles getting down onto the beach. So as well as vegetation replanting, doing all these various tracks with various contributions of money to help along the way. We've actually got a lot of walking trails through our areas of reserve. So we've got this Quarry Reserve, we've got the Coastal Reserve, we've got the Randalls Bay Conservation Area, which includes Mickey's Beach for anyone who knows the area. And we've got the Echo Sugarloaf Reserve, which was a private timber reserve that my family contributed to the State Reserve program some years back. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But On these reserves, we're able to host various activities, and for the last couple of years, the Tasmanian Orienteering Association have had their state championships down there. So that's provides a bit of fun. Ever since our inception, we've been doing Clean Up Australia. We had Adopt a Highway, which doesn't exist anymore, I don't think, but we look after a significant section of highway and clean that up on a regular basis. Good family fun activities, sorting all the rubbish into the recyclables and landfill. Every year we get a huge pile. It doesn't cease to amaze us that year after year we still are able to find a similar amount through the various reserves. Some of it's old, some of it's been there for a long time, but a lot of people continue to dump their household trash off the sides of the road because they can do that without having to pay tip fees. A lot of rubbish coming from the fish farms and the recreational fishing fraternity. I've got lots of that over the years. This is bluebell creeper, solia. There's quite a bit of that in the area, but we've pretty well got it under control as we have most of the weeds, very few weeds in our area these days. One of our younger members looks after our gnome site, so that's we were also part of that sand tracking program, monitoring the movement of the sand over the years. It's unfortunate that is not funded anymore, but we do have some data there. We put in a defibrillator a couple of years ago. That's the current coordinator and our volunteer coordinator, Paula Maxine there. This is on the Echo Sugarloaf Reserve, which is where we've been doing most of our more recent work. This is on the other side of Randalls Bay to the Quarry Reserve, but we've just completed now, after doing 2 stages, a 4.5 kilometre walking trail. And for that we've received initially a 30,000 grant through Tasmanian Community Fund to do stage 1, which was the track to the summit. Then a second $40,000 grant from the same fund to do the second stage, the return loop. And to finish it off, we were able to get last year a $20,000 Commonwealth grant through local member Julie Collins' office to finish it off. So that's taken quite a bit of effort over the last couple of years. Had to fall a big radiator pine at the start of the track, but really we've actually got next to no weeds now on this 100-acre reserve. We had to engage a contractor to come in with a mini machine to cut the track after we'd actually cut the route. We had a surveyor in initially, and during COVID lockdown I got stuck up and cut the route for the second stage. This is steps accessing the route. Quite a bit of work involved in some of this work. Signage, seating. This is the getting up towards the summit. Bit of seating we put in there. Some of the workers. More of the workers at morning tea break. These are all our group people. Lots of vegetation types and soil types. So on some of it we're able to have loose gravel provided right on site. So that's, we have, because it's fairly inaccessible, you're not able to cart anything into it. So we're fortunate to have the raw materials on hand. Some of the steeper sections we've actually pitched them into the track itself so that they don't slip and slide. This is someone doing some pitching, the pitching tools to get that sort of finished effect. Now we're in the process of putting up some interpretive signage. And we've got a number of these signs along the route, and that's the sort of detail that we've got onto our signs. So this particular one is featuring the swift parrot and the masked owl, both of which are found on the reserve. We have cameras up there that have been photographing the swift parrot nesting sites. We did some chick banding up there summer before last. The last 2 summers we haven't had them nesting there, they've gone elsewhere. Just recently there's been a few fly over, but they haven't decided that there's enough flowering around to stay for this season. That's the view of Adamson's Peak from the summit, looking down over Randalls Bay, Mickey's Bay, and Bacon Bay around the corner on the riverside. We've just completed a panorama that will go on the summit, featuring the mountain tops that you can see from the distance with all their heights. So that will explain to a lot of our visitors just what they're looking at. A lot of them are a bit confused as to what's out there, as are most of our group, so we've actually got some labels to put on places. We've put up a information booth just at the start of the track, and that's still a work in progress, but we'll finish that off in the next few weeks. This is Julie Collins, who officiated at the opening of the track back in November. Jason Jacoby, Head of Parks and Wildlife. Rosalie Woodruff on the left there. Rosalie's here somewhere. We're now getting lots and lots of visitors to our track. It's getting loved to death, really. Most of the walking clubs have discovered it and are now doing it on a regular basis. And this is Pandani Walking Club. A year or so back, here they're out to visit again. This is David Pocock, captain of the Wallabies. So we're getting visitors from near and far. We've had state and federal politicians coming to do it in their private time. But this is a brochure that we've had produced. We've got copies for anyone who's interested. Kelsey, I think they're on the floor there beside you if you'd like to pass them out for anyone who's interested. Yeah, just about there. We've had a logo done. We did a competition to the students of the schools, and this was the winner of the logo competition. We've got one of the schools doing citizen science activities as well, so that's one of the schools at Lagoon. We've got animal cameras up installed. That's a sugar glider that frequents the nests of the swift parrots. That's a crispida. That's the only second place that it's been found in Tasmania. Another place being on the Tasman Peninsula. Orchids are just starting to flower. The native clematis, lots of that down there, lots of social activities, and we're very, very successful. Lots of people like to engage in our social activities. This is a fun night that we had just a couple of months ago. We have one big function a year. This was our Christmas dinner, and we always finish off our working bees with a cuppa. So it's a social activity. Lots of people like to participate. At our big annual, usually make it a tour of houses with a meal at each house and an auction. That's been the most successful fundraising event, getting over $3,000 from that sort of event. So, yeah, that's our group.